Welcome, everybody, to Prospects 101, brought to you by Blue Wire Pods and Bet Online. This is the show where we discuss and analyze football prospects on all level beyond the industry standard, high school, college, and the NFL draft. You name it, we cover it. You can follow and interact with us on all social medias at Prospects 101 Pod. And guys, I think this was a long overdue, but we're back on video. Welcome back.
No kidding. Wow.
Woo, it feels
unbelievable.
Good.
This is not good timing though. Like, I'm pretty sure I gained a COVID-19 through this quarantine process. So don't judge me right now.
I gotta say, it feels really good to be back on video. And for those of you our YouTube fans out there, it's been probably about a month since we've done a show, and we apologize about that. We've been having to rebrand and do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and video just kind of took a little bit of a back seat so we could get everything organized first. But we do plan on doing more video. This is the start of a lot of big things to come, and hopefully a start of more and more shows on YouTube again as well. So for those who don't know, we are Prospects 101, and we cover all prospects from recruiting to college, and then those who are trying to get to the NFL. This particular show is Recruiting Roundup, which we're going to drop every Friday morning. And this is a show strictly about recruiting. So, Gless, tell Caitlin we say hey, by the way. The wonders of live video. It's all
Wonder
good,
of live video. All good. All good.
So, like I said, we're excited to be back on video. We're excited to be back hanging with our YouTube fam, and this is the start of many big things to come. So let's hop right into it, guys. It's a big week this week for recruiting, and the biggest news, arguably, is the commitment of Zachary Evans. He is the highest rated recruit to commit to TCU, and he's the number 2 ranked recruit according to 24/7 Sports. Pastel, what has jumped out to you most about this signing?
The fact that TCU signed him, and the fact that we all thought, I mean, for the longest time, we never thought he was going to sign with the Texas team in the first place. We thought it was going to be the Georgia, or just some other programs, but we never saw TCU in the picture. It's not. I mean, this is what TCU's highest rated signing ever, correct?
Ever.
So, I mean, I think just from the prospect of him signing with a school like that, when he could have gone anywhere in the nation, and I'll let Glesser talk more about like what is actually stands out on film with him, but I just think from an aspect of, oh my God, he signed with TCU, and then of course the first comparison is it LaDainian Tomlinson? Is he the next LT? But honestly, he shows that type of skill set. I mean, he's arguably the biggest recruit since Adrian Peterson out of the state of Texas as far as running back. I mean, that's the hype he's getting right now. I don't know how he's not the number 1 prospect. I think it might be some character issues, but I don't know that, so I don't want to say that. But from a film standpoint, he looks like the best player in football at the high school level.
Yeah, hats off to Gary Patterson, by the way. Gary has been one of the most underrated coaches in Division I, and I love seeing him getting a guy of this caliber because this guy's a program changer, and he's a guy that allows them to compete with the big boys in the Big 12, where in generally, they bring in unheralded recruits. They bring in this 2 stars, maybe some 3 stars, and they develop them really well at TCU. Well, now they got a big home run threat, a guy who can go to the house anytime he has the ball in his hands. I'm going to be very curious to see how it plays out at TCU, though. I just get the vibe, just looking at this Twitter, social media, a lot of the word that's kind of come out throughout this whole process. Is this going to be his only stop at TCU? I guess time will tell, but I'd love to see what he could do to that program to really elevate it into a top 15, top 10 program.
They needed this. I mean, let's be serious. Gary needed this. The program at TCU needed this. That's a program that's been trending down since they lost since Trevon Boykin has graduated. They had a decent year with Kenny Hill, and then they haven't really had a quarterback since Kenny Trill, if you remember that, Gless. But they haven't had a lot of success since he's left. So this was needed. This is a potential recitation moment for the program, because I still have concerns about quarterback. You got Doug in there, but he was up and down last year. He was a highly recruited quarterback, but he's got to take that next step. Hopefully Zach Evans can come in and be the player everybody thinks he can be and take the pressure off of Duggan and really, set that program to the next level. They're going to need it. So very, very, very big surprise. You don't see a lot of recruiting surprises like this. And so it's very fun and very cool to see it when you do. It's nice. It's nice somebody out of the big boys didn't get the top guy for once.
And you look at Zachary Evans, and if they're, I don't want to say character issues, because that could be anything. But somebody that I think needs more structure. I don't think you could have gone to a better program than TCU with Gary Patterson. So I think him going there, not only for a scheme fit and him just being a 5-star prospect, they don't get those guys. Good for him. That's going to help him out in the long run, I think.
Yeah. So in other big news, Taulia Tagovailoa has decided to transfer. He's entered the transfer portal, and I don't think it's necessarily a surprise, because I don't think he was going to beat out Mac Jones, or he would have already done it. And I don't think he's going to even beat out Bryce Young, because Bryce Young might beat out Mac Jones because he's the most dynamic freshman quarterback in the country. So my question to you guys is where do you think he goes? And as you can see, I got a couple schools on here. The U has been the top rumor with his older brother Tua in Miami. FIU is another school that's been rumored with their quarterback Morgan, who was drafted this year. They don't have a quarterback, and you're kind of toward the Miami area as well, to be close to family, be close to Tua and mom and dad. But then two names that really stood out to me that that weren't really talked about, but as far as I'm concerned, I think are legit spots are Maryland and Michigan. Michigan is Josh Gaddis, a former offensive coordinator, and then the Tagovailoa family is really close with Mike Locksley, the head coach at Maryland. Yeah. So, what is your gut telling you guys? Where do you think he ends up?
Yeah, I think all four of three of the four of those are fantastic fits for him. I think Maryland is a unique one. I think Michigan makes a lot of sense on a lot of levels. I think Michigan is better suited to bring in more 4 or 5-star quarterbacks than a school like Maryland is. And you talked about Caleb Williams last week, Kenny, on the recruiting roundup. If they don't happen to get Caleb Williams, I think that Tagovailoa would be a fantastic fit at the University of Maryland. Not only that, it'd be a big name at the University of Maryland. University of Maryland football is not big. They're starving for a winner. Honestly, they just want to be really competitive in the Big Ten, and this guy would give them a chance to be competitive in the Big Ten for a couple years. And again, like I said, that Locksley connection, you can't mistake that relationship was built there in recruiting. So I think Maryland makes a lot of sense on a lot of levels.
Yeah, I think the problem with Michigan, though, is they just got a 5-star quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. I mean, he's a top 15 player in this year's or next year's recruiting roundup. So I think the biggest question is, can Tagovailoa, Tua's little brother, can he play next year, or is he going to have to sit out a year? We don't know that yet. We're not sure if any of these rules are going to pass where transfers are allowed to have a one-time transfer rule, or if they're going to have to sit out a year. But on the assumption of him having to wait a year, I don't think Michigan's a good fit, because if you get a 5-star prospect, he's going to be playing quickly. So I think Maryland, probably the best pick if Caleb Williams doesn't go there. Outside of that, I do think a Florida school. I mean, how about Hawaii? What if he went back to Hawaii and freaking just resurrected that program? What a legend he would be there.
Run and shoot out in Hawaii. That'd be amazing.
I mean, he's only 5'10", 5'11". He's a smaller guy, so get him in an air raid type of offense, possibly.
Well, and I guys, I don't know if they're running the air raid out there. Todd Graham's the new head coach.
Oh, is he? I didn't see who the new head coach was. Okay.
Yeah, he's the new head coach out there. So I don't even know if that's what they would be running, because I believe the OC out there is oh gosh, I can't remember his name. I apologize. It's escaping me now, but I think they're not going back to that Nick Rolovich run offense. Let's see. GJ Kenny is the offensive coordinator there, and he was listen to this, by the way, he was the offensive special projects for the Eagles last year and an offensive analyst for Arkansas the year before. He was a GA for SMU in 2017. That's how young this guy is. He's 31. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, Nick Rolovich is really one of the last ones of a dying breed. I mean, he runs the run and shoot, and he was a run and shoot quarterback. So, it's kind of interesting. It was like the only time Hawaii's ever been successful is when they run the run and shoot, and they keep getting rid of it. So we'll see.
Stop getting rid of it.
You would have thought they would have promoted their OC to head coach or something like that.
Yeah, it may have been something where the OC maybe interviewed and they didn't give him the job, so the OC had, maybe ended up going to Washington State with Nick. So
it's interesting. In my opinion, I honestly kind of like FIU. Go play with Butch Davis. You're a G5 program. There's not a lot of pressure. You can go ball out and look like, I mean, Morgan got drafted this year from FIU. So it's not like you can't get drafted from that program. And like I said, Butch Davis is there. He's a pro coach. He's been around for a while. I could think of worse places to go.
I mean, at the end of the day, you want to play. And you don't want to go to another program where you might get beaten out by somebody. I know everyone thinks being a competitor, you don't think you will ever get beaten out. But it's already proven that Alabama was a bad decision for him. So I do agree with you, Kenny. Like FIU or FAU, probably have two different programs that I think he has a legit potential to start next year and actually kind of develop his own brand. Yeah,
it'd be interesting if you see. I know we're all going to be waiting around with bated breath for his decision. So moving on, and kind of continuation of what I talked about last week is the Tennessee Volunteers, and they stay hot, man. Over Mother's Day weekend, after we dropped our recruiting roundup show last week, they signed 3 more 4-star prospect commits. Katron Evans, defensive tackle, Aaron Willis, outside linebacker, and Caden Salter at quarterback. I mean, they just keep producing signings. And I know Tennessee's had good recruiting class in the past, but this just feels different. Are they back? Are they back? Because I answered that. I had to answer that question last week, but I'm asking you guys now. Are they back?
You're not back till you start winning some games. So no, they aren't back yet, but they could be. They could be. I really like Caden Salter. I know he's a little bit undersized, 6'1", 185. So definitely need to get him in the weight room, beef him up a little bit to be able to deal what he needs to deal with as a dual threat quarterback in the SEC. But guys, the touch he puts on the ball is beautiful. I'd recommend everybody look at his huddle highlights. It's extremely impressive. He could be a guy that really ends up being the catalyst to this class because they're bringing a lot of 4 or 5 star guys that are outside linebacker, guards, tackles, kind of unheralded positions generally. But in the SEC, that's what you need to win game in and game out. So I really like that they're building it that way, that Jeremy Pruitt's building it that way. But I think they got their guy in Salter. He had offers from Arkansas, Arizona State, Auburn, Baylor. So, he had some big programs after him, and he chose Tennessee instead of that. So, I mean, it's either that, man, or I tell you what, those Tennessee boosters just got fed up with being out recruited and opened up their pocketbooks. I don't know. I don't know that for a fact, by the way. I am just completely speculating.
I feel like you're definitely getting that feel right now in college football, and specifically with Tennessee, that with everybody just committing right now, you're getting forced to commit early as well. Like, I don't know if he wanted to commit necessarily this early. He probably wanted to kind of develop and see what other options he had out there. But with everyone committing right now, he probably felt forced to pick somebody that he felt comfortable with, which was Tennessee.
Well, I kind of hit on that a little bit last week. Are we going to see like a rash of decommitments come signing day? I think with the circumstances we're in, who knows? I do think, though, I don't think there's going to be a lot of decommits. I think everybody's kind of going to stay put. I think they're making their choice now. Maybe a couple. I think some people might feel like, as you say, forced because they don't want to lose their spot, but I think pretty much everybody's going to stay put. I think 95% of the class will stay put.
Yeah, I guess the one thing you have to think about, too, is the transfer portal. Like, say JT Daniels comes here, it's like, well, crap. Like, if he's going to be the guy, maybe I switch out. I will say another guy, Aaron Willis, he was a player that Virginia Tech was recruiting, and actually he signed – we thought he was going to commit to Virginia Tech there for a while. He's a smaller guy, 5'11", 207, but he's an absolute playmaker on the ball, and I think he's been one of those guys that – I don't know how it's going to translate to the NFL. That's way down the road. But from a college athlete, I think they got a stud in Aaron Willis for an outside linebacker position.
He had originally committed to VT, right? And then decommitted.
Yeah, he was probably Virginia Tech's highest rated player for that year.
Well, the other thing too, guys, and something to take note of, they clearly have a pipeline into St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, because I believe that's their, if Katron Evans isn't their second guy, he might be their third guy that they've gotten to commit. I'm sorry, he's the second guy they've gotten to commit out of that school. Interesting that Tennessee goes into Baltimore and gets 2 big-time 4 or 5-star recruits. Out recruits Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn. I mean, this guy had offers from everywhere, and he ended up choosing to go to Tennessee. So I think it's interesting.
I feel like Tennessee, and this is just my opinion, when they put this coaching staff together, they put guys that can recruit. And they put an emphasis on recruiting, not necessarily scheme fit or experience and all these other things. I think they thought, all right, who can go out there and recruit the best athletes? And they put that stud start cast with T. Martin and Pruitt and all these other guys, and they're going out there and producing.
Yeah, they have three National Recruiter of the Year coaches on staff: Pruitt, Niedermeyer, and T. Martin. All those guys in the past 10 years have won National Recruiter of the Year. Niedermeyer actually won it last year in 2019. I talked about it a little. I kind of hit on it a little bit last week. They are set up to be a recruiting powerhouse. Remember, Pruitt's kind of one of the guys who helped turn around Georgia. Like, he had a very, very big hand in that. So it's gonna be interesting. By the way, he still has ties down there, because they're now getting kids to recruit to Tennessee that are kind of in that Georgia, Alabama pipeline. They're kind of in that area.
Watch out.
And man, are Georgia and Bama fans on Twitter salty. Oh, dude, I've been reading a bunch of tweets from those guys, and they are just trying to rip Tennessee to shreds. And I'm like, dude, you're doing something right when you haven't really been relevant in the last 10 years. And now your rivals can't keep your names out their mouth.
Yeah, and Alabama is the 48th ranked recruiting class right now. So, of course, they're bitter. They're bitter when they're seeing Tennessee take their own athletes, and they can't recruit anybody right now. I mean, they'll finish in the top 10, but right now, they're sucking.
It's wild, and kind of to pivot a little bit, Brendan. It's one of the surprising classes of the year so far. Alabama's ranked 48th. They've had 3 4-star and 3 3-star recruits commit so far. The one thing I thought was interesting, though, when I was looking on 24/7 Sports Crystal Ball predictions, they are the favorite to sign 23 4-star prospects or higher right now. So I don't think that 48th ranking is going to last very long. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up in the top 5. I mean,
it won't. Same with Oklahoma. So Oklahoma's in the same boat. They're like in the 40s, and they'll finish in the top 10. But it's just so crazy seeing them this far behind the Powerball this part in the recruiting season.
Yeah, I think there's 2 things at work here, guys. One, I think with COVID-19, that's a big part of it. Nick Saban can barely operate email. Right. And at this point, he'd be having spring practice. Guys would be walking on campus, and kids would be salivating at the mouth to sign with Alabama. The second thing, and you guys know this, recruiting's a momentum sport, right? It's just like what Tennessee's doing. These kids are starting to commit. And, these are kids that they've gotten to know throughout the recruiting process. So I think it's only a matter of time. Alabama signs another 2, 3, 4-star guys. And I think you start to see their class fill out a little bit. But I think not having spring practice and, not to totally knock Nick Saban, but when I saw he could barely write an email and do a text message, I was like, dude, how's he going to recruit like today's 17, 18-year-old kid if those kids can't walk on to spring practice or anything like that? So
he needs to learn.
Just interesting, just an opinion.
He needs to learn, or have his wife show him, to put on all his championship rings in both hands, and then just have him take a picture of it and then send it to all the recruits and say, "Hey, why don't you come play for us?"
Yeah,
I think that'll fix it pretty quick.
And if any fans are wondering, yes, this is including Jacory Brooks that just signed a week ago on May 8th, which is. He's a 4-star prospect, but he honestly plays like a 5-star prospect. He's a 6'3", 185-pound receiver, and they're still ranked 48th or 49th in the nation. So just to clear that up, like with that prospect, they still are ranked that low right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think that, like I said, the the crystal ball thing kind of makes me feel like, okay, they're about to just Glesson, you talked about being momentum. I think once they start signing some of these 4-star guys, it's just going to quickly cascade, and we're going to blink, and next thing you know, Alabama's going to be in the top 5 again. But Paso, another recruiting class that's kind of surprised me is Minnesota, ranked at number 7. My boy PJ Fleck. I wish I was wearing my tie with my quarter zip right now. I'd feel amazing. But my guy PJ Fleck continuing his recruiting dominance. You know, he did well at Western Michigan, and then he's gone into Minnesota, and every year he's had a better class than the next. Right now he's got a top 10 class, 5 4-star commits, 11 3-star commits. They're second in the Big Ten, and they had a great week last week. You know, they signed Marquise Irving, running back. Had 23 offers. Some of those offers were from Virginia Tech, Utah, Wisconsin, South Carolina, Nebraska, Michigan State, and then Darius Green, a 3-star safety, who had a bunch of offers as well. What do you make of that, Pastel? What do you make of them in the seventh class in the nation right now?
The fact that Minnesota's got the 7th ranked class in college football. Like, we're seeing programs right now that we're not used to seeing have a top 10 recruiting class. I'll give Tennessee a pass. Like, we've seen them in the past do it, just not to this level. But UNC being number 3, I think, currently in the nation for a top recruiting class. And then you got Minnesota. The guys came on the scene out of nowhere, and he's raising that program up. And he's got guys right now that are top first-round talent players like Rashad Bateman. He's got Tanner Morgan on the team. So it's not like, this is just he's going to reload. He's going to keep on reloading if he keeps getting classes like this in the top 10. So I love what PJ Fleck's doing. I love the signings this past week. Marquise Irving, again, like I get they only restrict 5-star ratings to 32 people or around about that. But when you look from just a talent standpoint, it's like, dude, this guy's got everything. And I think he's going to be a dynamic playmaker for Minnesota, and almost immediately, I would argue. So I love to see what they're doing. I hope they keep it up. Honestly, I just hope PJ Fleck stays there. I get the sick feeling he's going to be, I don't know, the next SEC coach somewhere. Like, he's going to get he's going to get paid the big bucks, right? And leave Minnesota. Right. I just hope that doesn't happen.
PJ's a very interesting case because I've been following PJ Fleck for a while now. I think Gless, how long have I been preaching to you about how good this guy was going to be?
Years, man.
It's been
years.
He's probably my favorite coach in all sports. And I'm torn because I could see him absolutely leaving to go to USC. I think his brand and what he could do at USC would be a match made in heaven. He'd be a
young Pete Carroll.
I think he'd be a Pete Carroll 2.0.
Yeah.
He'd be a young 2.0 version of Pete Carroll. So I could see him. At the end of the day, you know, if USC or, you know, some big program, some blue blood program comes knocking at your door and you're at Minnesota, as much as you want to build a brand and build a reputation around Minnesota, you got to go there. But I'm with you. I hope he stays at Minnesota. I'd love to see him build them up into a powerhouse. But eventually that's going to come to an end, and he's going to go to a bigger P5.
It's great for college football when you see coaches like that and Gary Patterson of the world. Just stay there. It's great for college football, and I love it as a college football fan.
I love it, and I don't mind it. But how many national titles has Gary Patterson won? That's the problem.
Yeah.
So it's great. I don't disagree with you, but from a personal perspective, also you want to compete for national championships, and I don't know if Minnesota will ever be a national championship type team. I think they'll be an upper Big Ten type team, but I don't know if they'll ever be a national championship type team. So. Anyway, I don't want to get too far off the rails. And one more recruiting class that we were looking at, and Pastel, I know you were kind of hitting me up offline about this a lot, so I really want to let you run with this. Is Houston being the 79th ranked class currently in the country? Why don't you sound off a little bit about what you're seeing there at Houston?
I guess I'm just frustrated because they paid Dan the most money for a G5 or a G5 program, whatever.
Yep.
In the country. They've given the most money. It was about $5 million a year.
Yep.
I think it was just until recently Charlie Strong got more money than him. But outside of that, and he's the 79th ranked class, and he lost Derek King. And I get if you don't like Derek King, bottom line is a dynamic playmaker, and he got lost to Miami. They lost out on Zachary Evans. I'm not saying Zachary Evans necessarily was ever a potential fit for Houston, but when was TCU? Like, TCU was never in the mix. And now, and I say Zachary Evans, by the way, because Zachary Evans was from Houston.
Yeah.
Like, they lost out on their own hometown prospect to a team like TCU. I get if it was like Florida or Miami or Alabama, but you lost out to TCU? I mean, I get frustrated with this class because they're not even recruiting in their own state. The highest ranked player in Texas that Houston has right now is 65, according to 247 Sports. So I get frustrated with what Dana Holgerson is doing there, just because he's getting paid the big bucks and he's not producing.
Yeah,
from a recruiting.
Yeah, I don't think Dan has ever been known as an incredible recruiter. I don't think that's really his calling card. I think if you look at his classes at West Virginia and what he did there, I mean, none of them were off the rails stellar. I mean, when you think of West Virginia recruits, I mean, you think of what Rich Rod did there. You certainly don't think of what Dana did there. So it's not overly surprising that they don't do well. And it's still a G5 school, even though they are at University of Houston and they've had some really good teams over the years. I've always thought that he was going to struggle there. Like it didn't. I think you got to get lucky with some kids there, like Ed Oliver. That was like,
and that's
stupid lucky.
And
like
that's a great
Herman got lucky.
Yeah. And that's a great point there. And that's kind of what I wanted to bring up with Pastel is losing out on Zachary Evans kind of stinks, but Ed Oliver is the only 5-star prospect to ever sign with a G5 program. And that was with Houston. So it's kind of funny we're talking about that, but I don't think there was ever an expectation that he was going to sign with Houston or even be close. I mean, it's only happened once since the prospects have been ranked since like the year 2000 in 20 years. I don't think it's fair to hold that against Dana Holgerson that he couldn't sign a 5-star because it just doesn't happen.
Correct, but it's all the pieces together. I'm not saying Zachary Evans is like the main reason. Like he was never in the top 5 of Zachary Evans, but neither was TCU. What I'm saying is he was from Houston. Like you should have been in his top 5 if you're getting paid the number 1 G5 coach in America, and you lose out again. You can't even recruit in your own state. You can't recruit at all right now. You're ranked 79th in the nation, and you're getting paid like a Power 5 team.
Yeah, I mean, Tillman Fertitta definitely pays well. I mean, they're trying. Go ahead, Gus.
But as we know, guys, it's early.
Yeah,
it's very, very early in this ball game,
and I get
not a great start. I get that, but it's still very early.
Losing King sucks, and I get he might not transfer to be an NFL prospect and so forth. But from a college standpoint, he's a good QB. Yeah, I mean, he might have quit or not, but. I don't know. Dana should have found a way to keep him because he's a good dynamic player. And that would have worked perfectly in a G5 program like Houston to raise it up to that level to be a top 25 program.
I don't know. I don't know. I have issues with some of the stuff because you can't convince a guy who quits on the team to. I mean, he quit because they were 1-3, and he was like, "No, I'm just going to use my red shirt and go transfer somewhere else." So, I mean, you can't convince a guy
that's already quit.
Yeah, trying to quit. If he's got his mind up on quitting, he's going to quit. And to be honest, do you even really want to? Like, do I really want to go beg a guy to stay who's thinking about quitting, who's supposed to be the captain of my team? No, dude. If you want to quit. There's the door. Like, I don't want you on my team anyway.
Yeah, but he's about to get seen the door as well if he can't start recruiting better.
It'd be interesting. I think his buyout's pretty big. But yeah, Tillman Fertitta he's been on record at saying we fire coaches for winning 9 games around here, which I thought was kind of ridiculous. But
hey, real quick, do you think there's a trend in college football? Do you think there could be a trend that if your team's not very successful for the first 4 games and you are a better quarterback, that you decide to just sit out the rest of that year and hopefully save face and do better than the next year?
I think it's a dangerous precedent that was set by King last year. But here's the thing: if King goes out and sucks in Miami, I don't think this is a big deal.
But if he balls out,
could be.
Maybe. I mean, it just depends on the coach's appetite on if they're willing to sell their soul. I can tell you that if a kid does that, I wouldn't want anything to do with that kid. I don't care how good he is. Nah, dude, screw that. You quit on the team and you quit on the program just for your own self-interest. Screw you, man.
Yeah,
get on my program.
I don't know I don't know if I'd be taking that player. And I mean, it's no surprise that Miami took him in.
Yeah.
Miami went 6-7 last year, and they've been terrible since 2006.
So Pastel, looking at the top 10 here, why don't you go over the top 10 and tell me if there's any surprises, anything that or your thoughts on the top 10. What do you think? And if you're watching on video right now, we have a little ticker going at the bottom as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So just kind of to tell people what top 10 is, I would like to do this every week just so you can see how it fluctuates up and down. But number one, you got Ohio State, who is by far the number one recruiting class. We're talking about Tennessee, like surprising everybody, and North Carolina being up there and Clemson as well. But Ohio State is potentially the greatest recruiting class by 247 or rivals ever. If they get all the crystal ball projections correct, they're up there with some of the most elite recruiting classes ever. They're that far ahead of Tennessee right now. Ohio State's number 1, Tennessee's number 2, North Carolina's number 3, Clemson 4, USC. It's good to see them back in the top 5. I feel like from a while there, we see them in the top 15, but it's good to see them kind of back in the powerhouse of the top 5. So number 5, USC, number 6, Florida, number 7, I already told you, was Minnesota, number 8, Iowa, 9, Notre Dame, and 10, Michigan. The only thing I really would like to point out right there is the fact that 1, UNC, where the heck did they come from? And they have
about Iowa at 8.
Yeah,
How about Iowa at 8? Look at that. Kirk Ferentz getting it done.
Yeah. Hey, and that's the one takeaway. My biggest takeaway from this top 10 is you got 4 Big Ten teams in it. Big Ten coming out to play, man. Coming out to play.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, and then you got Notre Dame right there at 9. I like to see Notre Dame do well.
My other biggest takeaway right now is I feel like Michigan has not gotten their quarterback right since Harbaugh has been there. Like, when is Harbaugh finally going to get his quarterback? He's got his transfers, but he's never recruited his main quarterback. Well, guess what? He just recruited a 5-star player in J.J. McCarthy. So now he's finally got his main dude.
Well, remember they got Brandon Peters. I think was it 2 or 3 years ago, a 5-star prospect, and he ended up being a big busto. He's the starting quarterback at Illinois now.
Yeah, busto.
So,
but
just remember that.
Yeah, but this guy is. I mean, he's top 15 player in the nation. So, I mean, there's always the buzz factor to it, but I think it's good to see, not that I like Michigan, but it's good to see them get a quarterback to not give Harbaugh any excuses. If they can't beat Ohio State in the next few years with this guy, bye-bye, Harbaugh.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I don't know if he's bye-bye, but I think he's got some leash, but he definitely needs to find his quarterback. That's for sure. Pastel, as we wrap up here, for the show, I want you to kind of go over some of the signings this past week that kind of caught your eye. What were some of the teams and some of the players that caught your eye on signings?
I mean, just to kind of wrap it up, just more signings in general. And we try to do this from a week-to-week basis, saying like the last 6, 7, 8 days, there's some guys that have signed. And Florida State, they got a 4-star prospect in Hunter Washington. Looks very good on film. I'm really curious to see how early he plays there at Florida State. Louisiana Tech got the 500th ranked player in the nation and 3-star running back in Trevion Hargrove. And for schools like that, like a 3-star running back in the top 500 is a big news for them. I mean, I get everyone gets wrapped around this Alabama program that they get everybody in the top 100, but for schools like this, that's a big pickup. LSU, of course, they get their normal 4-star running back in Corey Kiner. He's 163rd in the nation. Good pickup. Wake Forest just keeps adding to that offensive line with Eric Russell. I'm really curious to see how they do. I mean, that was a big pickup for them. USC got an athlete, 4-star prospect in Julian Simon. He's going to be fun to watch right there. And we've already talked about USC being in a top 5 class this year. Kentucky. I mean, I'm telling you, Kentucky's starting to build something down there with Stoops. As far as the recruiting base as well, they got a 4-star receiver named Declan Crowdis, 240th player ranked in the nation. And then you got some 3-star prospects from Toledo, running back Willie Shaw. SMU got a guy named Jalen Record, wide receiver, 3-star prospect. Actually, SMU had 3-star recruits this past week. So they had Jalen, they had an inside linebacker in Trevion Sneed, and then another wide receiver in Dylan Goffney. So great week for SMU. I'm excited to see what they do with the recruiting class this year. Texas picked another 3-star. Maryland. They got Maryland. You get that vibe. Maryland's starting to pick it up now. I mean, the fact that they're in the conversation for the number 1 player in the nation.
Class. Yeah.
So they got
a top 15 class this year.
They got 2 guys this past week. A tight end in Weston Wolf and a 3-star in athlete CJ Dupree. So I'm really curious to see what Maryland's building right now in the ACC. And then the Big Ten. Sorry,
Big Ten.
And just kind of top it off right now is Nebraska. They got another quarterback, Hinrich Harburg, 3-star. But when you really start breaking him down, I think he's the guy after Martinez. So I hope he redshirts this year so we don't waste a year of eligibility on him. But watch out for him. Just watch out for him. He's gonna be fun to watch.
Interesting. Yeah, Nebraska needs to pick it up, man. They've definitely fallen on hard times, and Scott Frost was supposed to bring a new era there, and it hasn't happened yet. Last year was obviously a very disappointing year. Martinez didn't play like the Heisman candidate everybody thought he could be. So hopefully they turn around this year. But they just need to continue recruiting well, and it's tough. It's tough at the end of the day to recruit people to Nebraska. I mean, you're trying to recruit people to Nebraska. It's like saying, hi, I'm in Delaware.
Yeah.
So that's tough. Well, look, guys, every Friday you can look forward to Prospects 101 dropping a recruiting roundup. This is, like I said, this is a recap of the week in recruiting itself. It's our opinions on what we took away from the week and some of the big news. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And again, I can't say this enough. It's great to be back on YouTube. It's great to interact with our YouTube fam. We've missed you guys. We look forward to doing more content for you. As always, make sure you're subscribing. Click on that like button as well. Make sure you click on the notification bell. And for all those who aren't on YouTube or not watching on YouTube, you can also follow us at Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Prospects 101 Pod. And again, subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to Apple Podcasts, subscribe to Spotify. Make sure you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts if you love the show. For Pastel, for Gless, I'm Kenny. Everybody have a great night.